expecting to leave here in the next 20 minutes or so. Well, President Biden looking on during a dignified transfer on Sunday. The remains of 13 U.S. service members, they were returned to their families. They were, of course, killed in that suicide bombing attack at Kabul's airport in Afghanistan on Thursday. The U.S. only has one full day left to fully evacuate troops and citizens from the country. Tomorrow is the deadline from the president. It looks like that is not going to be extended. Rocket fire continued overnight, targeting Kabul's airport. U.S. officials say all of those rockets were intercepted. Meantime, U.S. officials say a drone strike did take out two suicide bombers that planned another attack on the airport. Afghan officials say secondary explosions then killed multiple civilians as a result of the number of explosives in that car. And joining us live now is former CIA counterterrorism officer Brandon Blackburn. Brandon, good to see you this morning. Thanks for joining us.
Hey, Ryan, good morning. You nailed it. Happy Afghanistan withdrawal eve upon us right now.
Yeah, Brandon, we're talking about just a tense deadline rapidly approaching and just a huge problem. I mean, a number of the problems. Where does security come from on those last flights out for our military?
Well, it's going to be a very difficult challenge. This administration has certainly telegraphed our entire operational plan and security posture to an adversarial Taliban who is now in charge of the country. So I think we're not only in the midst of a completely unmitigated disaster, but also in the midst of the deadliest and most prolonged game of whack-a-mole in American history.
So, Brandon, in the CIA, you served in Iraq and Afghanistan, identifying terror networks. So what is your take when you look at the intel we've had leading to that drone strike and, of course, the rockets coming in, and then moving forward without intel in Afghanistan? How is that going to leave us in danger here at home?
Right, and that's really been the biggest component of this war the last 7 or 8 years, is establishing a very sound and operational intelligence apparatus on the ground there. And my concerns, as we've seen what's unfolded these last few weeks, is much of that hard work, particularly when it comes to having established our human resources on the ground, is being completely nullified with the haphazard manner in which this drawdown and withdrawal has taken place.
Likely all Americans are not going to get out. They pretty much admitted that before the deadline. What does this mean for the safety? And then there's that threat of the hostage situation for those that are left behind, whatever that number is.
Yeah, those are all good points. And this is why it's very concerning that really the only point of exit for Americans these last few weeks has been the Kabul airport. They've had no alternative means of getting out of the country. And I think that's been the biggest Achilles heel to this withdrawal, which is saying something because there have been a lot of issues with it, as we've learned.
Brandon, you look at this last 24 hours. I mean, what do you think is going through the minds of those service members, knowing this deadline's coming, knowing the attacks are out there? And as the more of them leave, the less security they have there.
Yeah, I think the Afghan people and the Americans still on the ground are really starting to feel that vulnerability. And keep in mind, Ryan, when we talk about the Afghan people, the average age over there is a little over 18 years. So a lot of these people have they weren't even around for 9/11. They don't know Taliban control. They're starting to get a feel for that. And they're starting to see that the Americans, unfortunately, weren't able to be relied upon when it mattered most.
Let's see what happens over the next 24 hours. But you feel for all the people there and, of course, all the Afghan citizens that are not going to be able to get out. Brandon, really appreciate your insight this morning. Thank you.
Thanks, Ryan. God bless. Have a good day.
7:41 is the time. Coming up on Good Day Orlando, we're talking about honoring